I hope you guys are doing well out there, man. I hope you guys are doing well out there. Sorry, I'm having like I'm super exhausted. I'm hyper distracted by my pug. I'm just like saying all kinds of dumb shit. I'm having such a hard time focusing. Oh yeah, I want to talk about this though. I super want to talk about this.
The new Trudeau.
So this is an interview with Chrystia Freeland. I'm gonna stop this because like, fuck this Nazi collaborator. Like, if you guys don't know about Chrystia Freeland, right? She's the one who is responsible for arming and training Nazi groups in Ukraine. Her grandfather was a Nazi collaborator, which she has said things like, I'm proud of my grandfather, or outright denying that he was a Nazi collaborator, right? Like, so the deputy prime minister is a Nazi collaborator. Like, and there's no other thing to call her, right? She has sold weapons and trained Nazi groups in Ukraine. Like, that's just a fundamental truth. And so we're going to listen to what she has to say about moving forward in the pandemic, from the pandemic.
Mandate reveal. Let's bring in the most powerful minister, the deputy prime minister, the finance minister. She was not surprised. She's the only one who knew her job coming into today. Chrystia Freeland, I haven't had you on the program since the election, so congratulations, Minister, on your election. There's a lot here, but I just want to start with your portfolio as a finance minister, because inflation, 4.4%, the largest jump in 18 years, the impact of the cost of living, and I know you're hearing it. Groceries are up, gas is up. What is your plan to deal with that in the short term?
Well, Vin, first of all, nice to see you and thank you for the congratulations. I think when it comes to inflation, the really important starting point is for us to all appreciate, as I know you do, that this is not a uniquely Canadian phenomenon.
So just like immediately like sloughing it off, like, oh, everybody, like literally global capitalism is the problem, right? That the neoliberal death cult is a global phenomenon, and so everyone is having the same problem. Isn't that interesting how all of the countries who are using neoliberal capitalism are having the same problems? I wonder what's going on.
I was recently at the IMF World Bank meetings in Washington. There were G7 meetings, G20 meetings, and what I heard from all of our counterparts around the world is that this is something that the economies of the world, particularly the industrialized economies, are experiencing. It comes down to the fact that it turns out that it is a lot easier to shut down the world economy than to open it back up.
It's a lot easier to dismantle neoliberal capitalism than it is to maintain a failed religious ideology that isn't an economic system. That's how that should be interpreted, right? And like, of course it's easy to destroy a fraudulent system. It's so easy to destroy a fraudulent system that doesn't work, right? All you have to do is begin erecting programs that do work, right? Literally, that's all you have to do. Like, oh, the thing that doesn't work and fails completely is difficult to maintain, especially in a society that refuses to accept death squads like we used to accept, lynch mobs like we used to accept, right? Outright genocide and slavery, right? Which is what it takes to create neoliberal capitalism in the first place. So, yeah, it's really hard to enact a system that has failed repeatedly, will continue to fail, and will collapse outright. As she personally dismantles the very support systems that we need that work to actually build a real economy.
And we are opening it back up. That is great. But there is some unevenness, there are some hiccups, there are supply chain issues.
There's some unevenness, there's some hiccups, there's some supply chain issues, which is exactly why now is the time to cut supports, right? Now is exactly the right time to cut supports with all of these hiccups and supply chain issues, right?
That would be point one. And then point two is we are very, very focused on affordability for Canadian families. What makes your life affordable? Housing, childcare, and a job.
Housing, childcare, and a job. Continue working while we do nothing. You do all the work, we do nothing. That's the arrangement. And a job, right? It's literally affordable housing, childcare, and a job. Go get the job. Go sell yourself to the capitalist death cult. The very people responsible for the decline of the society, continue selling yourself to the capitalist death cult. This is the pitch coming out of Nazi collaborator Chrystia Freeland.
And those are the things our government is squarely focused on delivering.
So what they're focused squarely on delivering, right? Affordable housing, which they can't do because all housing is being bought up by the billionaire psychopath class. It doesn't matter how much they build. It doesn't matter how much they create, unless they institute rent controls or unless they institute legislation to purposefully keep the housing cheap, which they won't, then the billionaires will come in and scoop the properties up. How do we know? Because that's what they've been doing in the first place, right? Childcare. What, you mean the measly $10 a week that Justin Trudeau is putting in? Like a total fucking joke? $10, what is it, $10 a day? Ooh, right? That's like throwing a drop of water in a burning inferno, right? And then again, jobs, right? We here at the Liberal Party are dedicated to enslaving the population through wage slavery on behalf of a capitalist death cult. Chrystia Freeland, direct quote.
Okay, well, I mean, again.
And I love it. This guy's just like, okay. Even this guy is skeptical. Even this guy from corporate news station CTV is sitting there being like, okay, all that sounds good and all, but...
Again, I know you're right to say it's a global phenomenon, but it becomes, as you know, a very particular national focus for citizens. But let's just talk about jobs, because one of the government priorities is the environment. We're less than a week away from COP26, and a lot of folks in the energy sector are deeply concerned about that. What is the message to Alberta, to the energy sector, with the former activist Stephen Guilbeault as the environment minister, and then Jonathan Wilkinson, former minister of the environment, also all in on the transition as the natural resources minister. Some in the West and in Alberta and in that sector are saying, this is bad news for us. What's the message?
It is not bad news at all, Evan. Look, the reality of the last election is it underscored once and for all that the vast majority of Canadians understand that climate change is real and that climate action is essential.
Shut up. Honestly, stop telling me that climate change is real. Stop telling me that climate action is essential. I know, right? I know. If you genuinely cared about climate action and the reality of climate change, you would do something about it, right? What are the Liberals doing about it? Banning straws? Fuck you. Fuck you.
And you know what else? The vast majority of countries in the world get that too, particularly the world's leading industrialized economies. They are all in on the green transition. And Canada is an exporting nation. We are a trading nation. And so really our challenge now is to accomplish that green transition so that we can be sure that the stuff we make, the stuff we produce, is going to be bought by the rest of the world. So that is my focus, is to accomplish the green transition in a way that delivers jobs and growth. And Evan, let me just get to the oil and gas sector. Can I just say one oil and gas thing?
Because I
talked to the Alberta oil and gas guys. Yeah, 100%. And look, I am a proud daughter of Alberta, and I am Canada's finance minister. And I absolutely understand how essential the oil and gas sector is to the Canadian economy and is to good, well-paid union jobs in the Canadian economy. The good news is, and this is something that maybe people don't fully appreciate, But over the past, 12 to 18 months, there has been a revolution in the thinking of Canada's oil and gas sector. And the leadership there is now fully committed to the green transition because they know that's what they need for their future. Canada's leading oil and gas companies are committed to net zero by 2050, and the government of Canada is absolutely committed to being their partner in that transition.
Like, that's a bunch of bullshit, right? Doesn't that sound like a total amount of... And look at her stupid smug face as if she landed this, right? As if we're looking at her being like, wow, Chrystia Freeland is really making me feel good. Yeah, net zero by 2050, right? How's that for a promise? Yeah, I promise to be off heroin in fucking 30 years. I'll stop doing heroin in 30 years. Like, fuck you. Like, fuck you. Get rid of these losers, right? She's simultaneously saying to your face that we care about a green transition while also sucking the cock of the oil sector and the fossil fuel industry, right? Like, she's literally trying to have it both ways, and you can't. It's not possible. You either support fossil fuels and the oil industry, or you support organized human existence. Pick one. You don't get to do both, right? And the idea that, oh yeah, we're actually going to transition, right? No, you're not. Like, it's total bullshit. We know you're not. And a promise that we're going to reduce emissions to net zero by 2050 is a fucking joke. We know you don't care about that. Like, that's so far down the fucking line. Like, so that's 30 years from now. That's 30 years from now. And by the time we get there, you know for sure they're not going to hit it. Canada is the largest producer of pollution in the G20 nations, right? The highest subsidizer of fossil fuels in the G20 nations. We have absolutely no right whatsoever to be talking about caring about a green transition. This is 100% total bullshit. She's lying to our faces because she knows that we're gullible rubes. Because we keep falling for the same gullible bullshit out of this Nazi collaborator's mouth. It's grow up time, people.
Right. Well, there's going to be calls at COP to stop any investment in new fossil fuel projects. That'll be something. I know that's by 2050, but the question is what will happen there. But I know we got limited time. When are you going to sign the childcare deals with the province of Ontario? Again, a huge economic issue. Ontario seems to be a struggle there. Any date on when that gets done?
I think those are questions you should be asking the people in Queen's Park. And I think you should ask people in Edmonton and people in New Brunswick. But let me tell you, we are extremely committed to getting deals done with Alberta, with Ontario, with New Brunswick, Nunavut, and the Northwest Territories. I had a great chat with Corinna Gould today. Canadians, this election, one of the ballot issues in this election was early learning and childcare. There was a clear contrast between our position and the position of the Conservative Party, and Canadians voted for early learning and childcare. So we are extremely keen to get those deals done, and I know Canadian families are too, not least because of the affordability issue with which you began this conversation.
$10 a day for childcare, guys. This is like peak liberalism, right? Like, this is peak liberal. Like, look, we got that piecemeal itsy bitsy reform, right? Right as inflation is going through the roof. $10 a day for childcare? Are you like, how stupid can you be? How stupid can you be? Right? Childcare is like, you know what $10 a day does for childcare? Fuck all. Like, this is how detached and completely bereft of the lived experience of the average Canadian liberals are. This embarrassing pledge for $10 an hour childcare. Childcare should be free. It should be built into the universal healthcare system. Or, better yet, how about you enact a basic income so moms can stay home and raise their own children, right? The neoliberal death cult can't have that. Can't have that, right? We got to take moms and tear them away from their children and throw them into jobs that are pointless. That's what we got to be doing.
Yeah, well, exactly. Ontario keeps saying they're not getting enough money and they can't afford it, so there's negotiation going on there. Can you give us Melanie Joly, elevated to the Foreign Affairs Minister? It's the 5th Foreign Affairs Minister in 6 years. Obviously, you know it because that was your former role. First of all, why so many transitions, and what happened to Mark Garneau, a widely respected minister? He just gets elected a month ago, and now he's out of cabinet. Why is he out?
Well, let me start my answer, Evan, where you started your question, which is to say to Melanie Joly, félicitations, madame. Melanie has shown that she is a woman who gets things done. She has shown that she is a fantastic communicator. She has shown that she is a great diplomat. And all of those skills are going to absolutely be essential for her in her new role. And I know she is going to do a terrific job.
Canada doesn't give a shit at all about foreign affairs. We do what the United States tells us to do. That's it. We don't need a foreign affairs minister. Why do you think we're having 5 foreign affairs ministers in the last 6 years? It's because we don't give a shit at all about foreign affairs. Like who are we trying to be diplomatic with? Who are we trying to build relationships with? We don't give a fuck, right? We do what the United States tells us to do. Right? The U.S. says build a pipeline. The U.S. says go over here. The U.S. says invade this place. The U.S. says prop up this fake government. Oh yeah, Juan Guaido is the interim president. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There's a Uyghur genocide, guys. Yeah. We don't need a foreign affairs minister. That's the reason why the position keeps rotating and changing. Right? And what did Chrystia Freeland basically just do? She just jerked off. She just jerked off in front of us for about 20 seconds. She was like, yeah, Melanie's going to do a great job in this position that we don't need or care about whatsoever. We literally just do what the United States tells us to do and say what they tell us to say. Like, you don't need a minister for that. So what's she going to do all day long, right? So she sits in a room like playing with rubber bands. She's literally just like throwing rubber bands. The United States sends over an email and she just reads it. Like, reads it out loud to whoever she thinks she needs to read it to. Right? Like it's like we don't need a foreign affairs minister. We might as well just have the United States State Department do it for us. Like, it's brutal. And this like smug grin of just like, yeah, she's going to do a great job answering, like reading emails given to her by the United States State Department and the CIA. Like, good job. You did it.
Okay, but what happened to Mark Garneau?
I love this guy, by the way. I do got to point in at this stage in the game. Every response that this guy has had has basically been like, okay, if that's your answer, I guess. I mean, people don't seem to be enjoying it. Like, this guy is basically looking at Chrystia and being like, you don't really understand what's going on, do you? Like, you seem like you're just kind of like detached from the reality of the lived experience of regular citizens, right? Like, didn't you just cut everybody's supports? Like, are they even going to ask a question about that? Time will tell.
You know, Evan, earlier today in his press conference, the Prime Minister talked about the challenges of putting together a cabinet. And I think that he has done a great job putting together a cabinet which truly represents our country, which represents the regional diversity of our country, of course, gender diversity, and really is a cabinet in which Canadians can see them. He has put together a cabinet that combines experience with some new faces, with some freshness.
New faceness,
and that is very hard to put together. There are many considerations. But since you've mentioned Mark in particular, let me just say that it has been a privilege for me, and I think for all of Mark's parliamentary and cabinet colleagues to work with him. He is a truly outstanding Canadian. I mean, my God, this is a guy who has schools named after him. He's an amazing person who has accomplished amazing things for our country, and we should all be proud of his accomplishments.
She's just wasting time, right?
Right, you're pushing against an open door, which raises the question, why he's out. I know you're not going to answer this, but you can nod subtly if he's going to be the ambassador to France soon. Just give me a little kind of, okay, there, that's it. Okay, you can raise your eyebrows. On a last question for you, Minister, will your government be appealing the First Nation child welfare case? The deadline is Friday. There's a new minister, the former health minister, Patty Heidi, was in that file. She's got about a grand total of 3 days to make maybe one of the most consequential calls. Will the government appeal that?
So we have the benefit of being able to pierce through the veil of time, right? We know that they appealed it, right? So let's listen to Chrystia Freeland's completely bullshit response to what we already know to be the case.
That's something that the Prime Minister was asked earlier today, and I do really want to assure Canadians that he and the team have been very focused on it and working very, very hard on it. The Prime Minister pointed out that our government has two big objectives. One is, of course, the Indigenous children and their families who have been harmed deserve to be, have a right to be compensated, and our government is committed to that.
Which is why we're suing them, right? We're committed to compensation and actually doing it, which is why we're suing them to make sure we don't have to do that.
Our government also is really committed to, hang on, let me just finish my sentence here, because the second part is also really important.
Just wasting time.
And that is we have to fix a broken system. It's no good to deliver compensation, but to keep on creating the same harms, to keep on doing the thing that was wrong in the first place. So we have to walk and chew gum. We have to compensate children and families, and we have to fix the system so the harm stops being done. And we are hard at work, and the new ministers are already hard at work finding the right answer.
And the way to do that is to sue them, right? Like, what an incoherent non-response. That is wasting time. She's chewing. You can see this guy is trying to move her along, right? He's trying to move her along because he's got more questions for her. And she's slowly answering, taking her time. We're almost out of time.
Okay, we'll find out on Friday. You think you get the legislature, you got 3 weeks to get legislation to pass that $7.4 billion targeted support programs that you announced. Are you confident, even though the NDP's furious you didn't extend some of those other permanent programs, the more general support programs like the CRB, they're livid about it. Are you actually confident you can get the legislation passed in 3 weeks?
I am absolutely confident. You know, I think one thing...
What a softball question in this regard, right? Their plan is abandonment. That literally the plan that Chrystia Freeland has put on the table and is talking to people about is a plan where no one gets any money. It puts all of the power in the hand of the corporate sector. It puts all of the power in the hand of the corporate sector, and they will do everything they can to make sure that no one can ever get this a new benefit that they're creating. Why create a new benefit if not to do this?
Every single person who was elected to this House of Commons learned on the campaign trail is Canadians want us to work together to deliver results for Canadians. And I really believe that Canadians want us to finish the fight against COVID, to provide the necessary support, and also to pivot to the post-COVID jobs and growth economy.
To pivot to the post-COVID jobs and growth economy. Sounds like some neoliberal death cult shit, right? Sell people to a capitalist death cult, pivot to a growth economy, right? An infinite growth economy, like the neoliberal religious ideology says that we need to have, right? This is just more neoliberal garbage coming out of a Nazi collaborator's mouth. We are being abandoned and sold out by this capitalist death cultist. She's saying it to your face, directly to you. Directly to your face.
the plan that we've outlined is a real common sense approach to do exactly that. I think Canadians understand that, and I think they're going to count on all of us in the House to work collaboratively together to get that done.
Minister,
because the way forward is to abandon millions of people to the capitalist death cult, spike homelessness, spike poverty, ensure that people are as desperate as possible so that they'll accept the shittiest possible conditions. This is the liberal plan. This is your liberal government.
And Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland, great to have you on the program on a very busy day. You were probably the least nervous person there because you know your job weeks ago, but always a pleasure to have you on the program. Thank you.
It was great to be with you, Evan. The only thing I was nervous about was, were my kids going to finish reading their books and doing their homework and get really bored?
Weird. What a weird thing. And look at his response. I love it. He's just like, okay, if you say so. Right? Like, what a fucking weirdo. Straight up. Like, Chrystia Freeland is a weirdo. Right? Like, she's literally saying to your face over and over again, hey, we're going to sell you to the capitalist death cult that you hate, right? The billionaire class, we're not going to confront or tax or do anything about, right? Inflation is spiking, all of this shit. But our commitment to the Canadian people is to ensure that you will work your entire lives for people you'll never meet so that they can get richer while you drown in unaffordable housing and increased debt. That's Chrystia Freeland's promise. She basically just said it out loud. Right? She basically just said it out loud right to your face. And you're supposed to just sit there and be like, yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, we'll just keep going to work for Galen Weston and David Thompson and while they make billions of dollars, and we'll just work our lives away forever as they suppress our wages and everything is totally fine. What a great finance minister we have. Get fucked. Like, get fucked. Like, Chrystia Freeland is a fucking embarrassment. She's detached from reality. She doesn't understand the basics of what is going on in her own country. And worst of all, she's a fucking Nazi collaborator. Right? She has sold weapons and trained Nazis. Period. Like, that's a full stop situation, guys. Like, and if you don't believe me, fight me on it. I've got the documents. Like, this is a no bullshit situation now. Right? We are being abandoned by a death cult. And it will smile at you like this smug, stupid bitch while it does it to you. It will happily smile at you and say its stupid, dumbass jokes about her stupid, dumbass kids while plunging the dagger deep into your back. Like, stop voting for these people. Abandon these liberals, abandon the conservatives, and fucking abandon the NDP. Vote communist, right? Surround the halls of power. We don't have another option. We're being abandoned. Abandon them back. If you've made it to this point, like, share, subscribe. My Patreon's down below. Chrystia Freeland's going to make me homeless. Right? I could use a buck. If you've got a buck jangling around, it would really help me out. It would make sure that I can actually pay my fucking rent. And before you say, like, oh, go to job. I have 2 jobs. I have 2 fucking jobs. So don't bug me with that dumb bullshit. Good luck. We're going to need it.